Sponsor an orphan, and you'll help support a vulnerable child to have the education they've always dreamed of, so they can build a brighter future. You'll be feeding a hungry stomach and a hungry mind with knowledge that will last them a lifetime. That's the power of an education. Sponsor an orphan now with Islamic Relief.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope everybody had a great weekend. I'm Preacher Moss, host of the SOS, the Shout Out Show. I'm trying to think. My weekend was interesting. I got to hang out with Sheikh Ayindi Mendez. I got to spend a little time with him. Barticle Blue, spoken word artist who used to be in Bali. Now he's in Seattle. Just did some business stuff. Really excited about some of the upcoming projects that I'm involved with, because they kind of fall into a new creative nuance that I'm trying to engage with a little bit more. The business side of what we do in terms of comedy, but more so production. I've been blessed to have Sister Satana come along on that ride. So it's great to see that she's expanding. But it's really come with the fact that we just had so much support from people like people on the Shout Out Show who watch the Shout Out Show, our Shout Out Show family. But also I think we have to stop and pause and give thanks for the fact that a show like the Shout Out Show is interesting because a lot of people know about what we do. Maybe they're not here every day, but just the idea that we put something out into the universe that people can attach themselves to. And I think I'm trying to find the words, the particular words other than I'm grateful and I'm thankful and blessed. I have to say that I have been evolved with this process of doing the Shout Out Show. I have to say that on stage, off stage, relationships. I always talk about Sister Satana, consultant producer, where we started, where we are now, just how we look at production. My heart was definitely full when we did the comedy special in Washington, D.C. It's interesting. As a man, you never really get to birth anything, like a physical birth. A female can have a child, but a man births ideas. And that's as close as you get to that thing. But seeing it grow and manifest and mature and see people benefit from it is really, really interesting. You guys know how long I've been doing this. So that is one part of it. But I think the other thing that is important for me with this platform is that we have to speak the truth. People engage me as a comedian because that's safe for a lot of folks. The people that engage me further, other than being a comedian, understand that I have deep thoughts. I have positions. I have ideologies. I have educational things. Of course, I have creative narratives. Maybe some of it you heard. Maybe some of it you've never heard. I've been well-versed. Life has put me in a position that's been well-versed. Islam has helped me frame that existence outside of what it was before I was Muslim. Being able to see the world in a particular type of prism, which is not the prism of, and you have to be careful. There's a prism and then there's a prison. And I think Islam moves you from the prison to the prism, from the prison to the prism, in terms of life and how you see things, how you engage things, how you see people, religious people, criminals, politicians, all of that, your family members. And it is part of a very unique organic growth that I've been able to take part of. One of the things that has always dogged me as a kid was the scope of not racism. Hear me now, not racism, but why racism exists, why people practice racism. The title today is Why White People Truly Annoy Me. And I'm going to be very, very pragmatic about what I say. Some of the things may come across as hurtful, but they're going to be honest. And I say hurtful and honest because I'm speaking as a man that's 55 years old who watch elderly people, people that I love, people who nurtured me, who through their ages were bound by the shackles of racism and white supremacy and Jim Crow. They live vicariously through many of us because they weren't able to do things in their 20s that we were able to do in our 20s and our 30s that they were able to do. And they suffered not because they weren't hardworking. They suffered not because they weren't smart or creative. It's just that there was something in society that permeated the fact that something was in the air to make sure whenever these people got up in the morning, they felt defeated. I am of that generation who was out of that space. My mother and my father can tell you about, whites only, water fountains and stuff like that. And it's all they can do is relate that kind of pain to you. And it makes me grateful, but, it doesn't resolve the fact that I have these feelings, that many of us have these feelings about how our people are treated. Many of us have these feelings about how our people are treated now, why the racism isn't as overt as it used to be. There's one thing that remains constant with racism in America, and it is this conundrum of whiteness. This conundrum of people who call themselves white people. And they call themselves white people when they have to galvanize themselves against people who are not white. I've been in quiet conversations when people talk about where they're from. They don't go from White-topia or White Zealand or anything like that. They tell you I'm from Belgium, my people from Amsterdam. But when it comes to an issue of fairness and justice, to owning up to the disrepair and dysfunctional treatment of African Americans and other people of colors, particularly Native Americans, they shut their mouth. They galvanize behind the law because the law tells them that we can win this way. So I'm not going to go on a rant. We have quite a show today. I see people in the queue. I'm going to tell people to hang on because this is going to be one of them joints. In fact, I'm going to start it off officially when we come back. So listen, you're here on the ShOUT Show with Preacher Moss. Today's topic is why white people truly annoy me. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, we're back. Listen, to make sure we have time for our topic today, I just want to jump into all the people who have been supporting. We got quite a few people in the ShOUT Show comment section. I want to make sure I show them some love and respect. Let's go ahead and jump in. We got Sister Ree. She said, hello, family. Enjoying Alabama. Hate to leave. Sister Ree, wherever you are in Alabama, I hope that they appreciate you. And when you're coming back home, we appreciate you. Peace and blessings to you. Safe travel on that road. Be very, very careful. All right. Shout out Altar Rashid, Mr. 6 o'clock, straight up, straight down. Our Canadian envoy to the show. We appreciate you, brother, man. Much love to you, and thank you so much for being a part of this discussion. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I appreciate you. Next up, Johnny L. Thomas, my little brother, my day one, been riding with me over 30 some years. And this is one of the conversations that we've had. He inspires me a lot of times to speak about these things. You see, we've been through things together as black men. When I say we've been through things together as black men, some of the stuff we've had to endure on stage, off stage, and our private lives and our family lives, it's interesting because a lot of times that we ran up against this whole idea of whiteness in America is clearly when we just want to improve ourselves. Clearly, we wanted to support other people who wanted to improve themselves. And we ran up against stiff competition. Next up, I want to give a shout out, of course, Brother Eric. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Beloved, thank you so much for coming on the show. Peace and blessings to you and your family, sir. I appreciate you coming on the show and supporting this platform. Thank you so much. Next up, My brother, Mark Allen, candidate better known as Jelani Locks. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Big Mark. Mark's probably going to jump in on this topic a couple of times. But I'm just going to be dead on and honest. Dead on and honest. I'm reflecting, of course, on a couple conversations that I had from my mentors who are a little bit older than me, particularly my big brother, Reginald Kitchen, and having real talk about some of the things that we saw and some of the advice he gave to me as a younger man, as a younger brother, to navigate these things. So we're gonna take it there. All right, brother. Thank you so much. Walaikum assalam rahmatullah barakatuh, brother Bilal. Salahuddin, you're on the ladder. I hope Sister Sonia's not on that ladder with you, man. I hope you left her off the ladder, my dear brother. Thank you so much for joining us, man. Shout out. Appreciate you for some of the notes that you sent, man. They're very inspiring. Thank you so much. Next up, and we got the Queen, Mary Moss, better known as Mama Son. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Mama Son, I appreciate you. Thanks so much for your support and love. And we have to give a shout out to our consultant producer who I bigged up at the beginning of the show. Sister Zatana, thank you so much for just your support. I can tell people, hey, she's on the shout out show. No. A lot of things wouldn't happen production wise, creative wise, that you have somebody, one, that you trust, and number two, not only that you trust them, but that you believe that they are creative in that space, that they can engage in different ways and bring skill sets that you weren't able to see. It's because Sister Tana actually got on Canva one time and started making things, expanding myself. So I appreciate you. Thanks so much, Sister Tana. Oh, and I know who this is. This is Sister Rabina. Oh, it's going to be a show today. What's going on, Sister Rabina? Peace and blessings to you and your family. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to you and yours. Thank you so much for joining us on the Shout Out Show. I thought you left me alone because we were talking about the COVID vaccine. You got mad at me, but thank you so much for coming on the show. So let's get to this thing. Something was said to me years ago as I watched a young man being arrested by the police. I was in Northern Virginia. I was with Reginald Kitchen. And we watched the police take a young man into custody. Just off a basketball court. And what I noticed was they were trying to send a message. The way they treated the young man, the way they made sure it was a very big show because, one of the problems with whiteness is that they use law enforcement to enforce whiteness, to preserve whiteness. We've talked about this before. But they took this young man, and of course, as time played out, the young man was found now guilty of what he was accused of. But when they pulled him away, Reginald Kitchen said, what do you think the message was in doing this young man like this? And before I even go there, forgive me, everybody. This is the kind of conversation it's going to be. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I just want to keep it truthful to my heart. When the young man was taken away, you got to realize I'm like 23. This young man is around my age. And Reggie was older than me. And we looked at each other. He said, what do you think the message was with that? We were both Muslim. I was a young Muslim. He said, what do you think the message was with that thing right there? And I said, Coach, I don't really know what it is. I don't like what I saw. I know how it made me feel. He said the message was, niggas are only made in America. He said the message is, niggas are only made in America. You can go to Europe. You can go to Canada, you can go to South Africa, you can go to the South America, you can go to Central America, you can go to Paris, Greenland, ice, but no, niggas are made in America. What annoys me about that statement is that it's true. Is that the consortium of whiteness and the fear of black existence has been around for 400 years. 400 years. And it's parlayed through laws and politics. But just the idea, people, just the idea that less than 100 years ago, you had laws that were basically designed to stunt, if not extinguish, black existence and black elegance, black existence, black excellence here in the United States, going back to the 20s and 30s. And the can't stop, won't stop attitude of black uniqueness continues to, I'm sorry, it continues to scare people today. Now, some people go, oh, you know, there's no racism, da da da. I'm like, stop it. Stop it. There's racism in America. Please don't give me the Prophet Muhammad's peace and blessings be upon him, his last sermon. There's no, he was talking to the people. And the reason he was talking to the people is like, because I see it. Because it's a real thing. No longer can we sit around and have our feelings tamped down and somehow watered down. These are facts. We are living with the psychological illness that is placed in us in regards to laws. You can't look back 20, 30, 40, 50 years and say it didn't happen. Racism for the black man, racism for the Native American people of color is not a situation or phenomenon of something that's countercultural or counterfactual. These are the facts. We watch politicians who are old and white. Old and white. You can do the math. And you can look at what the positions were in the 50s, in the 60s, what the relationships were with the country. More importantly, the people that were trying to keep oppressed. Around the world right now, we have people who are mourning Queen Elizabeth. Now, I will not begrudge somebody and their time and having to deal with their making their space in the grave. That's not what I'm talking about. But there's a pushback of people going, wait a minute. Wait a minute. This lady's 90-some years old. There are pictures of people who are going through famine. There are pictures of Africans who are locked up dealing with UK English colonialism. And you can't forget it. You can't give it a pass. Because when you give it a pass, all it is, it just builds up. And it builds up into this thing where we create situations, scenarios whereby this quote unquote idea, nigger identity can evolve and be in a safe place. I'm 55 years old. I turn on the TV and I hear the N-word, 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 N-word. And it's not by people who are white. It's by people who are black. And inherently, I feel some kind of way. I said, because they don't know. Somebody's told them that it's cool to do this. There are people, the joke is, white people going, why can I use the N-word? And we come up with these convoluted ideas. I'm like, no, you can't use the N-word. You know, you can't take the bullet that you put in the gun, fire it at somebody, and then demand that they take it out of their body and give it back to you under the threat of you stole the bullet. Time and time and time and time again. I'm a clear thinker. And what happens when you're a clear thinker is that people will look at this title and automatically assume I'm talking to them. So if I say, why white people truly annoy me? Well, who made you white? All of a sudden you're white. You're not of French heritage. You're not of British heritage. You're not Swedish. You know, you're white. And it proves my point. It proves my point. Because people are wrapped up in these things. And I have a right to say what the hell I want to do. I say what I want to say because there's a freedom that's been afforded me. I'm not even saying I earned it. There's a freedom that was willed to me for the people who couldn't speak this way. For the people who came before Malcolm and couldn't speak this way. Or Martin and couldn't speak this way. Of a Farrakhan who had to grow and evolve and had to lift people along with Malcolm, lift people along with Martin, lift people along with Dick Gregory, saying that these are the feelings and representations of ourselves. That this die that has been cast for African Americans is a heavy die. It's a heavy die. Imagine you have dice and you playing craps, but every side of the dice has a 1. Every side of the dice has a 1. So when you roll the dice, it doesn't matter how you roll it, how hard you roll it, how soft you roll it. It's always going to be, in this game, snake eyes. You lose. What truly annoys me about this is that some of our most educated, quote unquote, white intellectuals understand that this game is going on. Understand that this game is going on and have to rightfully admit that they benefit from this game of whiteness in America, of white supremacy in America. That nobody's figured out a way to give back their white supremacy. It's impossible. It's impossible. I'm not saying give it back. You can't give it back. This is the conditions that we live in. You cannot give it back. But the acknowledgement of the pain and dysfunction is apparent, to the point whereby, and this is the episode of being counterfactual, Mark, stick with me, that now, in a place of heightened oppression, in a place of heightened racial insensitivity, you now have the oppressor saying that I'm a victim. Metaphorically, this oppressor is going, wait a minute. Sorry, black man. Sorry, Native American. Sorry, Latino. I'm a nigger. I'm a nigger before them. You can't do it. It happens all the time. Listen, I'm going to tell y'all something. I've never said this before. When I started doing comedy and I really started getting to the truth, and I talked to Dick Gregory about what I was doing when I wanted to quit comedy and all of that, and he encouraged me to stay in the game. He encouraged me to stay in the game, and he said, I left the game. This is how deep this is. He said, you're a funny guy. He said, but you're never going to be a star. I'll get gigs, I'll get shows. He said, but you're not going to get visibility the way you want visibility, the way that comedy works in Hollywood. He said, but people don't reward that. That speaking from the heart, like Brother Reggie said, only niggas are only made in America. That's real. This is not spoken word. This is real. We are living it today, every day. I shudder to think about the existence of my grandfather and my grandmother, who woke up every day knowing how hard you work, how much integrity you have, as much character. It doesn't matter, because the script has always been that you're going to lose. That where you live is already scripted where you're going to live. How much money you can't get loans and things like that, and where you live and where you vote, it's already been scripted. And these are people less than 100 years ago, folks. This whole idea of modernity here in the United States is a joke when it comes to African American existence. We are the modernity. We are the children and the spawn of the modernity, because only we can live in this space. White America, for the most part, has to live in the past. Only here in America can you talk about racism and then put out a term, because we had a black president, that we are post-racial. And no offense to Barack Obama, I respect him, but you won't even have black. You have African. You have African. And the other part is white. And as much as I love you, Michelle Obama is more of a black president than you were. I said it. I said it. But through time, you have to understand, and this is not hate. I didn't say why I hate white people, because I'm talking about a specific brand of white existence that doesn't allow anybody else to live. And if people take it to heart and they're guilty or da-da-da, that's you. But I can't stop. You can't understand, man. Let me tell y'all something. I've been Muslim 30 years. 9/11 hit, and we had Islamophobia. Any black Muslim here in the United States, any black person will tell you before 9/11, you did not hear about Islamophobia. It was a ruse. That government that we deal with, that white supremacist that we deal with in the Senate, that white supremacist that we deal with in the House, they live in fear of the fact that the black narrative is a thing that's been sustained and will continue to be sustained. It's a rich narrative. It's something that can't be pieced together. You can't take apart from 1950 and then make it fit in 1980. It doesn't fit. You understand what I'm saying? These are the facts. Pragmatically true. These are the facts. Only black existence has a string that runs from A to B to C to D to E to F. And you can't see Z. You can't see Z because it's adaptable. My love and encouragement and my prayers go for the slaves who were the first ones to come out of the slave fields, the first ones to come out of the plantations, who figured out how to make something happen when there was nothing, who dealt with vagrancy laws, who had to go to prison because, hey, if you didn't have a job, then the state had a right to assume custody of you. And the only jobs that were allowed were for the people who had oppressed you prior. This is what I'm talking about in terms of black existence moving to black excellence. America, white America, hear me now. This is a tough one. Satani might have to cut off. He ready. White America could not produce a Malcolm X, could not produce a Muhammad Ali, could not produce a Martin Luther King, could not produce a Dick Gregory, could not produce a Richard Pryor, could not produce an Honorable Elijah Muhammad, it could not produce a man Warfdin Muhammad. It couldn't produce them. And even though it comes from the black experience, everybody that I mentioned contributed to the wellspring and the mainstream identity of America. Book it. Book it. Islam in America, book it. Black Christianity in America, book it. Politics in America, book it. Here we go. Gender equality in America, book it. Sports in America, book it. Arts in America, book it. Finance in America, book it. Education in America, book it. Am I wrong? Am I enthusiastic? I'm only a teacher inspired by teachers. Imam Warfdin Muhammad was correct. In the way that Dick Gregory was correct. Maybe I wasn't put on this earth to be a master comedian. And I'll never achieve that level. Because you had to be a master teacher first. And you had to learn the ways to get messages out to people to uplift them in the ways that my teachers uplifted me. And not just black people. Book it, Persian people. Book it, Palestinians. Book it, white people. Book it, Africans. It's a true tradition. Nobody is going to tell me what I know. Those are the facts. Niggas are only made in America. Black excellence affects the world. It's a shout out show. Book it. Take me out of here, Satana.